Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of TV is a Real Mom. I'm Dave,
I'm Katie.
and you are listening to our podcast. We don't really, I was thinking about this. We don't really have a name for our podcast. Our channel is called TV is Our Real Mom,
Oh, you're
but
right.
but all we really do is podcast. So I was kind of I was kind of considered this the TV is Our Real Mom podcast. So I guess for now, we'll just continue calling it. This is the TV is Our Real Mom podcast,
Yeah,
and
that's who we are.
we just do random episodes. They differ in length depending
hmm
on the show and how good it is and what's going on. So this episode in particular, we're covering Big Brother for the first time. Um, should
Oh.
be interesting. You're like, we've sunk to new lows.
It's
Uh,
not a low, it's just a show that has an interesting relationship with the people who watch it. And there are
yeah,
different levels of people who watch it.
don't they all like hate the show and themselves for watching it?
It's actually an accurate way of putting it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just that I think about Survivor sometimes, and I think if we had, cameras on the survivors and we could watch them live 24 hours a day, we would probably like 5% of the contestants. And that's kind of how Big Brother is. I mean, you go through periods, there are ebbs and flows. Oh, I love this person. Next week you hate this person, and blah, blah, blah. And you see everything they say, good or bad, the way they act at every time of day. And so it's hard to maintain positive feelings about people you see day in and day out.
So you're saying humanity at its core is flawed.
Yeah, well, I think everybody knows that. Even people who have a super best friend or a sister they're really close with or a husband, there are times when you wanted to kill that person.
Right. There are times, but you're saying, well, I guess you're saying at least part of the time you're going to see something that makes you want to kill everyone, not just the villains.
Not physically kill. I'm not saying that, but like make you so mad that you want to physically do something.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. Did you know that was part of the hot take thing in RHAP? It was recommended that they do live feeds on.
That'd be terrible. Please don't do that. Please don't
on Survivor.
Why would they ever do that?
Because we can't get enough of it when it's on.
But then Survivor would be on the level of Big Brother. Like we would love hate these people the way we love hate Big Brother players. And by that I mean we pretty much hate all of them. Like even Paul, who was a fan favorite last year, like
he's already hated.
I feel like that's the person you liked the most, but like there's a lot of things to hate.
Yeah. No, makes sense. And also, like, part of what makes Survivor, I think, a higher tier show is it's got like really great storytelling through editing. And if they did live feeds, it would have to be a sort of live edited on the spot show. And that's the other thing. They couldn't turn out that editing in 3-day periods, like every vote,
No.
They have a lot more time to do editing with Big Brother because it takes place over how many days?
Well, like 90 some, but they couldn't also do live feeds with Survivor because it's filmed at a completely different time than it's on TV. Like it would never work.
Right. Yeah. It was an interesting idea, but yeah, it would never work.
No, it was a garbage idea.
So we went off on a tangent at the very beginning of our podcast.
Sorry.
But I had to do that. Anyways, I just had to get it out, Katie. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Let's explain a little bit about the situation here. So
it's quite a unique one.
Here's the deal. I don't actually watch Big Brother. I have seen it before.
Like when? When's the last time you watched?
Last time I watched I watched a few episodes of the season with Steve and the wrestler guy and the twins.
Austin.
Yeah.
The Oz twins. They were terrible.
Yeah. I actually watched several episodes of that season. That might be the most of any one season I've actually watched. Okay. And then next to that would be I watched a fair amount of the season that Derek the cop won.
16. So you watched 16 and 17 a little bit.
Right. And then last year didn't watch one little bit.
Last season was pretty mediocre, I have to say. But that's the other thing about Big Brother is you look at like I remember during season 17, like Austin and the twins were hated, 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 hated.
Right.
And like, but
Especially
you,
by you of all, you
well,
more than anyone else. You hated them.
no, I wouldn't say that. But I will say that watching him get evicted without his shoes on was one of the greatest Big Brother moments. But anyway, um, you you can go forward a year in time and look back on their gameplay and think about it more rationally. Whereas when you're in the moment, all you want to see is someone that you dislike that much, like Austin, like suffer humiliation. And it's terrible to think that you feel that way, you know? But it's so satisfying to see something like that happen. You think back on it a year later and you're like, yeah, that was pretty great, but I can see now the kind of gameplay that was going on and respect it a little bit more. But when you're in the middle of a Big Brother season, like emotions run high, and it's difficult to look at something, look at the gameplay that's going on without getting like worked up about it.
So do you get the same amount of enjoyment out of any of the positive moments, like Derek winning, or
See,
is
I
it
didn't
just the
see that
or
as
is
a
it just the
positive
hate?
moment because,
Oh, you weren't a fan of his.
well, it was just so boring. He was in power the whole entire time. Like it was a steamroll for him. That season is very boring.
Yeah, I
But
remember I called it at the beginning of the season. I'm like, that guy's
you
gonna
called
win.
it. You could see week 2, he just had something. You're like, that guy's gonna take, because everybody else was an idiot, with the exception of maybe um, the social media mogul
That's
and
another
one
interesting
people.
aspect of Big Brother is it's not the winner hasn't won yet when it
Right.
airs. So there's
They
no
edit
like
as they go.
yeah, being able to predict a winner like that, it's like a little more, especially Derek.
Hmm.
I mean, it just says a lot about him, I think, because it's like
Hmm.
he hadn't even won yet, but you can tell he was going to win the game.
He was getting the winners in
Crazy.
it from the beginning.
Yeah, and you don't get a winner's edit in Big Brother
Right.
because they don't know you're gonna win, which is
Unless you're
yeah,
so dominant and so good at it that it's just obvious right away.
right. Yeah, so that's crazy, looking back on him. But anyways, so I don't watch the show. I'm currently not watching the show, but I'm a big fan of RHAP. Rob has a podcast, and I like to put that on when I'm doing other stuff. And he's in the throes of Big Brother right now, so I throw those podcasts on. So I know a little bit about what's going on. I've heard these characters talked about. I've seen their pictures, but I don't know. I've never seen them like actually. I've never heard them talk. But Catie is a huge fan of the show, I think.
Yeah.
You've been watching like all of them ever since it started.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
I watched the first and the second one, I think. Maybe just the first one. And then I didn't really watch it, or I watched it off and on. And then All-Star season, I remember just being so disgusted with it because of the showmance thing.
They had an all-star season?
Yeah, season 7 is the All-Star season, and it was a really good season.
All of them. Okay, wow.
But I was so disgusted because Mike Boogie won that season, and he just used his showmance and like was really mean about it.
Really?
And I felt like, for some reason, I felt like offended by that, and I swore off it until, incidentally, Boogie's next season, which was season 14. So there were 7 seasons that I didn't watch, but ever since then, I've been kind of all in on it. But I've recently rewatched season 7, and it's not nearly as offensive as I once found it. It's actually a really good season.
Huh, wow, okay.
But it's one of the ones I would rewatch because Dr. Will gets a lot of credit for his gameplay in season 2, but his gameplay in season 7 is even more impressive, I would say. Even though he doesn't win, he basically runs the house from the beginning. But anyway, that's my story of Big Brother, and now I've been watching since season 14 again.
Okay. So, and what season are we on now? 19, is that right?
19, yeah.
19. And that's once per year for 19 years.
Well, no, season 9 was an odd winter's season, and it's also considered to be the worst season, so we kind of forget about that one, but there was 2 in 1 year once.
Was it something about like them not being able to go outside or something, or what?
It's always summer in California.
Yeah, that's true, right? Yeah.
No, it's just, I don't know. I've never watched it. I have no desire to watch it. I know the contestants were kind of janky. That's all I know about it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, cool. Well, that gives you a little bit of background on this podcast and the dynamics of that. It's kind of going to be more like Catie just telling us what's going on and her thoughts. And, I'll kind of ask questions, being someone who doesn't really know the game that well. It might add an interesting perspective. So
it's really just an experiment. Like, it's nice for me to have someone to spout off about Big Brother with. And so maybe that's all this is. And if you get some enjoyment out of it, then that's wonderful.
Right. And it's yet to be seen if we'll do this every week, but we're going to try probably. I don't know. Like, it is an experiment. So if it's a failed experiment, we'll probably just, we'll put it to bed, So, all right. Big Brother 19. What's
we're a weekend. We're a weekend.
Yeah. We're a weekend. What is top of mind for you? What are you thinking about right now? Wait, was it on tonight?
Yeah, the veto what was just on.
The veto episode. Okay.
Yep. Wednesdays.
And veto is what is that exactly?
Okay, I have to explain this for David. Sorry for you folks who all this is old hat, but
I know as quick as possible because I have seen it and I kind of know what it is.
You should know. HOH puts 2 people up for nomination. Then they play the power of veto, in which the nominees, HOH, and 3 other people compete. Whoever wins the veto has the option to take one nominee off the block, and the HOH can put another nominee up for eviction. And those nominees stay until eviction night. One of them goes home.
So who is on the block?
Who's on the block now? Or who was originally on the block? Because it's changed 5 times.
Well, okay. I also know that Christmas has a foot injury. Do we have an update on that?
Yes. Okay. So, for those of you who don't care for live feed stuff, we are just going to talk about live feed stuff through the whole thing. So sorry.
So we're going to be, this podcast is going to be ahead of what's aired on the show a little bit because live feeds are live and they haven't edited them into the show yet. So
So
we're just going to say right now that we're going to talk about that stuff and
all through the whole episode.
Whole episode. So if you just like to follow the show and not that stuff and be spoiled or whatever, then I guess this isn't going to work out.
So the veto meeting usually happens on Sundays or Mondays, and then the live eviction isn't until Thursday. So a lot of stuff potentially can happen in those 4 days, and they just have to cram it into the half an hour on Thursday's episode before the vote. So that's usually how it works. But anyway, so as it stands, Christmas and Jillian are on the block together, but initially Cody wanted to put Paul on the block as his as his renom, but Paul had the pendant of protection, which was a twist that was put into play, obviously, to keep Paul safe for a few weeks by the producers, which I don't have a problem with because, when you bring one returning player back, I'd rather have them around for a while than some of the duds because they always cast a few duds, and I'd rather get rid of them before a big personality like Paul goes home. And so I don't have a problem with this, but it was clearly rigged for Paul to win it. And he won it, very obviously.
How do you rig a competition for Paul?
Okay, well, America votes for the first temptation.
Oh, well, there you go.
And the voting opened on the first night. And who are they going to vote for out of these 16 people? More than they're going to vote for Paul, who they know and love from last season. So obviously, which is why I find it funny that Cody supposedly watched last season. He knows that Paul is popular. Maybe he doesn't want to admit it to himself because he has some weird hatred for Paul. But it didn't occur to him that Paul would have gotten the first temptation. Like, it didn't even occur to him. I don't understand why. Because the whole house should have been like, oh, Paul has it. Obviously, Paul has it. Like, why wouldn't they think that?
Right. Well, Cody, from what I understand,
is a serial killer.
Yeah. I guess that's all I've heard about him. Why does he come across as dumb from what I'm hearing? He's not dumb, is he? I actually heard he played he was doing a pretty good job in the house, or
not anymore. No,
not anymore. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, he had this whole alliance of, like, he thought 7, but then with Paul and Christmas, he had a group of 9 people. And he had made this decision to put Paul up on the block, and he did that without discussing it with anybody in that 9-person group. See, when you're HOH, like the first HOH especially, you have the opportunity to create sides in the house, and you have to look at the group you create as like a brain trust. And if you keep them in the dark on something that huge, then no one's going to trust you anymore. And that's exactly what he did. And even if he had succeeded in putting Paul on the block, he probably wouldn't have had the votes to get him out because everybody loves Paul. So his plan wouldn't have worked anyway. And because he went ahead with it without talking to his group and instead talking to people on the other side, you know, I mean, he's done now. His game is done, I think.
Right, because nobody trusts him, and
everybody's after him now.
He basically showed his cards when he went for Paul.
Yeah.
You know, and Paul's like, well, sorry, you can't do that. And
it was so funny. I know you don't watch Big Brother, but you should watch that veto meeting, because to see Cody's face when because the screen lit up with the pendant, Paul didn't even, he stood up and then the screen lit up and explained the pendant thing. And Cody just looked so, and everybody's faces, it was pretty priceless. So, I mean, if you can find just a clip of that, I would at least go watch that, because that was satisfying. One of those satisfying moments where something bad happens to one person and you get enjoyment out of it.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that guy? I know you said he's a serial killer. Is he just like as emotionless as everyone says he is? Basically, he's
it's the worst. Okay, you know how the head of household always gets these cards and like reads them like when something official happens? He's like the worst person that ever does it. Like he'll be like, house guests, tonight we are to choose one person. Like that's his voice when he's reading one of these. But anyway, that's not the whole reason I hate him. It's just he's got a terror. I hate him?
You hate him?
Yeah.
Okay.
In Big Brother terms, yeah, I hate him.
Isn't he the one who said that about like Megan too? He's like, I just don't like you.
Yeah, which was mean.
Yeah.
And what annoyed me after the first episode is some people were like, oh, Cody's amazing. He's going to be so great. He's going to be this saving grace for the season because he's so like blunt and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, he's just a nut job. And
wasn't part of like the appeal at the time for him was that he sort of like kept everything close to the chest, and they thought maybe that was like a unique and interesting approach to the game, where basically you just give up nothing. You just like because you see so many people play the same types of game that it's interesting to see just a whole new take on it, where you just like you're just a brick wall, you know. It is kind of an interesting approach, even though it's boring as hell.
Well, it actually isn't that boring, and it leads to good, like, entertainment, like the Paul thing. Like, that wouldn't have happened if Cody had told anybody what he was going to do. But as far as gameplay, it's idiotic. You have to let your team in on things.
Have other contestants commented on Cody at all, like saying, oh,
former contestants, you mean?
Or
people playing now?
I guess people playing now. Has anyone in the game in confessional said Cody's like impossible to work with or anything like that?
Yeah, like they say it's like talking to a brick wall. Like
so, they notice.
It's like Paul was up there trying to talk to him, and he just stood there like brushing his teeth and not answering his questions. And it was, I mean, you have to, it's a social game. You can't just be like, okay, I'm going to be this loyal person who plays with people I respect. Like, he's also got these psychotic tendencies. Like, he's eating nothing but slop when he's HOH and he doesn't have to because he, like, wants to punish himself. Like, he reminds me of, like...
Well, didn't he say, like, he's trying to get his body prepared for it so he's ready when he has to eat it?
Yeah, but it's still something a psycho does. Like, if you
absolutely, but it sounds like very military-esque. It's like
yeah, it is, but it reminds me of like those monks that would like inflict, you know, punishment on themselves because they sinned or something. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly the protocol there, but that's what it reminds me of. Self-flagellation, I believe, is what it's called. There's no reason for it, and he wants to keep Alex in the game just out of this respect he has for her because she's a good competitor, when it completely if it's one person that's messed up his game, it's Alex, because he has this weird obsession with keeping her around when nobody on his team, his whole group of 9 people, nobody wants to keep her around. But because he wants to keep her around, he goes and makes this secret plan and secret deals with her side of the house to keep her safe. It's really bizarre. I mean,
Wait,
it's
he wants to keep Alex?
yeah.
And can you give me a quick recap of who Alex is?
Alex is this, I think she's in her 20s. She is a gamer of some type. She
The
likes
one that
to,
looks like Hawaiian, kind of, with the
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
blonde streak.
Blonde streaks, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's Alex, and she's a good competitor, and that's the whole reason. The first night, they were the last 2 in this first competition, and he's trying to make a deal with her, and she told him to eat shit. And that's why he respects her so much. I think he has like a secret like crush on her, maybe, but is unwilling to admit it to himself because he's already got a showmance with who at first looked like the most beautiful girl in the house, but now she's just a trash bag.
Really? Okay. So we're talking about Jessica.
Yeah.
Okay. So how is Jessica a trash bag?
Because she refers to people not by their actual names. She refers to Alex by the name Pow Pow, which is the name of a contestant a few years ago who was another small Asian girl, and so she thinks they're the same person. She refers to Dominique, the one black girl in the house, as Davon, which is the name of a black woman from last season. So there's that. And then there's the fact that she's attached herself to Cody to the complete detriment of her own game. Like, she stuck by him after this whole Paul explosion, and she should have jumped ship. Like,
right.
That was the move.
Yeah, he's obviously going down, and she's going down with him.
Yeah, and I don't even know that he cares about her that much, because let's face it, it's been 14 days. But but they've just like exiled themselves up in the HOH room, and they're not talking to anybody, and she's just not very nice with some of the things I've heard that she has said.
Sure.
But,
okay. So who won the POV competition then?
Alex did. And she took herself off the block. And that's what set this whole thing into motion.
Who all gets to compete in that again?
It is the HOH, the 2 nominees, and then they draw 3 names out of a bag.
Okay, so there are a few other ones mixed in to sort of knock them off.
And it's fun because sometimes you'll draw the name of an ally who can take you off the block, and because they won the veto, they're safe too. So that's usually the best case scenario, is that your ally wins it and takes you down, and then neither of you can go up on the block.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Definitely makes the game a lot more twisty and turny, I feel like, than Survivor. Like,
it's twisty turny, and the interesting thing about Big Brother as compared to Survivor is that when one alliance is in power on Survivor, I mean, that's just kind of it. Whereas on Big Brother, you can have a group of 3 people that's completely on the outs as opposed to a group of 8. But if someone in that 3 group, alliance wins HOH, they're all safe. They're going to send someone from the big group home, whether there are numbers or not. And they can work on making deals, building relationships with the other side to increase their numbers. So power shifts from week to week. And that's why it's usually the first week of a season of Big Brother is not as crazy as this one has been. It's been crazy, and they've nominated 5 people have been nominated. Christmas, they thought she was going to have to leave because she literally broke her foot, and she went and got like an MRI today to see if it was broken, and it was actually fractured in 2 places. So,
oh my goodness. Okay.
They gave her the choice to stay or go, and she said she would stay, but they said they're not going to change the competitions for her.
Okay,
yeah. But the interesting thing about that is the whole thing about Christmas was the reason people wanted her out was because she was going to win all these competitions, and now that's not a thing. So it's actually it sucks for her, but it maybe is better for her game.
Yeah, I heard it compared to like Tyson and Blood Water in Survivor.
That's what we're calling it now, Blood Water.
Yeah, why not? I mean, but yeah, it's that can actually be it's been proven to be a winning strategy. Granted that for him it was his shoulder, and
that's a little bit different.
And he was hamming it up quite a bit. Like, he hurt himself, but it was fine in like a couple days, he said, and he kept pretending like it was hurt the whole time. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, like on your foot, you can't run or walk or do a broken foot. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have a tough time walking even. So
But maybe she
um,
can hop. My guess is that her one leg is probably stronger than both legs in some of those people.
there's gonna be some comps, I'm guessing. I don't know much about Big Brother competitions, but I've seen a few that there's things that aren't, you don't have to move around a lot, right?
Yeah, a lot of them are actually like trivia, true false, at
Hmm.
least the HOH. Vetoes are usually pretty physical. Um, and then some you just hang, like, or sit on something, if sitting is possible. My guess is maybe she'll be able to do like 2/3 of the competitions, and about a third of them she'll have to just, give it a fake try or just not participate. I don't know how they're going to do that, but
Okay.
she's not going to be able to do like that slip and slide competition. That's not going to happen unless I don't know how long it takes fractures in your foot to heal, but I think it's a while.
Hmm. Okay, so with Christmas and Jillian on the block, who does it look like everybody's voting for?
Well, it's kind of up in the air. I think Jillian's gonna go home, which may I just say, she is a ball of nothing. Like, I don't know why they cast this girl.
Okay,
Um,
that's too bad.
there's and she brings nothing to the table, so I'm fine with her going, and most people are fine with her going. But Cody and Jessica think they have gotten the numbers to make it a split vote. And when that happens on Big Brother, the HOH breaks the tie, which would mean Cody would break the tie. So they're under the impression that they're going to send Christmas home. But a couple of the people whose votes they think they have, they don't actually have. So,
Right. And one of these is Josh, is that right?
Josh. Yep.
Josh is the one that's faking it. He's
He's
pretending.
faking it, yeah. And the
Yeah.
only reason
Because he's with Paul, is that right?
he is, and the only reason that's the one thing with live feeds is, see, I just read the updates mostly. I don't actually watch the live feeds, but you don't know because they're usually talking to someone else, and you don't know if what they're saying is the truth or not. Like the only way you know is like watching the show and seeing their diary rooms to know what they're actually thinking, or if they talk to the camera. And Josh did a thing where he talked to the camera and said he was going to vote to keep Christmas, because Christmas has actually been really kind to Josh, whereas most people have kind of shunned him.
Why would they shun him? Yeah, what is it about him?
He's like 24, but I'm sensing that he's never lived away from his family before. And he's also got this really big, explosive, emotional personality. And on like the first night, he had a freak out, and he went off on Megan.
What?
And
What did he freak out about?
he said that Megan was a bad person and he was coming for her, and we saw no evidence of that. Like, to anyone watching the show, it looked like he was just paranoid and making stuff up. And he like called her out 2 times in front of everybody on the first night for doing basically nothing. And so he's been kind of shunned since then because he's just a loose cannon, loudmouth, emotional crybaby type of guy. But Christmas actually does talk to him. And I guess Jillian's friends with him, but I don't think she's as nice about it as Christmas is.
Okay. I've heard a lot of good things about Josh. Like, why did I hear good things?
I think people are high on him in the preseason because they thought he was going to provide some entertaining feeds. But ever since the first night when he flipped out, he's just been kind of quiet and trying to fade into the background. So it's been really good, this whole house like split with Cody trying to put up Paul and then putting up Christmas. Like, Josh is just in the background of that, and now people are trying to get his vote. So he's become a little bit more, he's risen, his stock has risen a little bit since that first disastrous night. It was
Right.
a disaster.
Yeah, I've heard it said, like, make no mistake, Josh is playing Big Brother. And do you agree with that?
I don't see the evidence yet,
Okay.
but I'm sure he is. He's a big fan. I know he is. So, and you're supposed to like be quiet the first week, and I think he's doing that. He just had the mishap of the very first night, and so he really just had no choice but to go quiet.
Am I getting him mixed up with somebody else, or I thought he was the guy preseason? They said like he was there to be hated or villainized. Is that the same guy?
I don't know. That might have been Cody.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah.
If
Okay.
so, then it's working because America hates
Yeah. Right on.
pretty hard.
So, like, who are you feeling good about? Like,
Game wise, or like, who do I love?
who do you love as a character?
Kevin.
Kevin. So Kevin's the older guy.
Yes.
50 something?
He's about 55, I think.
55. Okay. So what's he like? I don't know anything about him. I know what he looks like.
He's this Boston guy. He's got the Boston accent. He's a snappy dresser. He's smarter than I think he lets on. Like, he's in good with everybody.
Isn't he like a stay-at-home dad or something?
Yeah, and he said his son is like 18, and I'm like, you probably should get a job now. but maybe that's why he's going on Big Brother. He's like, well, I got to make up for, just being a stay-at-home dad all these years, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But, at a certain point. Maybe he doesn't have
to make up for it because his wife makes killing.
Well, his wife must make a buttload of money because they raised 7 kids on her salary alone. So
7 kids?
Yeah, they got 7 kids.
God damn, and 18's the youngest one?
I think so. His youngest is his son, and he has 6 daughters and 1 son.
Good Lord.
And his daughters have YouTube videos. They talk about K-pop, apparently.
Is that Japanese pop stuff, or is that
Korean?
Yeah, Korean pop.
Korean pop, and then they get their dad is on it sometimes, and he reacts to it, and you can just imagine his sort of reaction to. I've never watched K-pop videos. I get, baffled by American pop videos, so I can only imagine what a Korean pop video is like.
I met this one rednecky type guy here in the Midwest here, and he was super into K-pop, and he showed me. He's like, "You got to listen to this." I was like, "What the hell?" Like you talk to this guy for a little while and look at him, you would never believe he'd be into K-pop. Like, he just seemed like your typical redneck Midwestern guy. It blew my mind.
It's a popular thing, and a lot of people like it. I just don't really know enough about it, but
I don't get it. It's very strange if you listen to it.
Apparently, it's a big enough thing to have a YouTube series about.
Wow. Okay. But yeah, it isn't. He's the one they were using the word like incredulous about. Like, he's always incredulous.
Yeah, they say that a lot. He's got all these Kevinisms. Like, what did he say?
Like, he's like K-pop,
He asked.
I don't even understand. Like,
he asked Christmas how she slept, and she was like, "Oh, I kept waking up with my foot," and he was like, "Well, that's better than waking up without your foot."
Oh yeah.
Just stuff like that. Like, he's on the spot with those little things.
The dad jokes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I work with a guy. I work very closely with an older guy in his late 50s, and he does that all the time.
In a good way or a bad way?
Well, when I first started working with him, I didn't know how to feel about him, so I hated it. But now I like it. It makes me laugh every time. Like, it doesn't like crack me up. I'm like, yeah, I guess you got me with that one. He's like, he's got those every time. He knows what to say.
Yeah,
grandpa jokes.
But right now, I think his vote is the one people are the most confused about, because at the beginning, everybody thought he had this good secret relationship with Paul, but I think he's getting sick of Paul. So he might vote the other way just to spite Paul, but that would be bad for him because I don't think that's the way the vote's going to go. But what's weird about Big Brother is usually, even though you might think it's going to be like a split vote when it comes to Thursday night, they've all had some discussion and they've all gotten on the same page and they all vote the same way. It's really boring. Like, rarely do you actually get a split vote. Like, if we actually get a split vote tomorrow night, I'll be shocked if it's not like a 10-2 vote or something.
So you're saying most of the time they figure it out by the time it's time to vote. They know who's...
there's this obsession with like telling the person before the vote, like like the day of, like hours before it happens, just to like as a kindness to them and
So
to get everybody.
that's like a tradition in the Big Brother house because that's
But
totally
the
different.
last couple years, I feel like it has been like they've
Huh.
lost the joy of the blind side.
Yeah, I mean Survivor, it's all about the blind side. Like
It used to be in Big Brother too,
it's
man.
a
Like
rare thing for someone to know they're going home
I
in
know
Survivor.
now it is, but
Yeah.
like back in Big Brother All Stars, when Mike and Boogie were running the show, they always told people they were safe until they were walking out the door, and then they were pissed off. But it was like that makes for better TV than okay, thanks. Like usually they see like sometimes it's an athletic competition in the HOH, which is right after the vote. So if the person that is going home is like dressed up, you know that they've been told they're going home because otherwise they'd be wearing their athletic clothes ready for the competition.
Right. Okay. Hmm.
So that's a little clue you can latch onto, but it's
Right.
because people don't want to be on the other side of a vote. If they are, they feel like they're making a target out of themselves. So if they find out which way the votes are going to go, most people just pile on.
Right. I mean, that's actually kind of smart.
No, it is, but it does get a little boring. But
Right.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Right now, it looks like it's going to be a split vote, but I bet it'll be like 10-1 or 10-2 or something like that.
And Kevin will be the odd man out.
No, I don't. I think he's smarter than that. He might be annoyed with Paul, but he's got to go where the votes go.
Okay. So who do you like long-term chances to win? I guess I'm already we could save this for the end, but I guess I'm kind of asking like who your winner pick would be.
Oy vey. Well, I think there's going to be a battle back, first of all.
Okay, so you think Cameron's coming back?
I think for sure Cameron's coming back, and whoever gets voted out tonight will be in that. Because they're down. They like this will be. It's been a week since episode 1, and we're going to be down 3 people tomorrow night. But I'm not going to pick him because no one that comes back ever wins.
And you don't know that he would even come back. Well, we know that he's been sequestered because he's lights out.
He comes back. I hope he comes back. But let me think. It'd probably be one of the girls. Geez. I would say probably, I don't know.
Okay. Do you want to think about it some more? Talk it out?
Think about it a little more because every time I picture a person in my head, I'm like, no. So maybe I don't think anyone can win.
Yeah, I guess. Do you want to hear my pick based on just what I'm hearing?
Sure.
I kind of want to pick Dominique.
That's kind of who I was going to pick.
Yeah.
She's got a good
just
thing
based
going.
on what I'm hearing, like basically sounds like she's like really personable, like, and she's getting along with everyone, but she's also sort of like forgotten about. And,
yeah, that's true. But the only thing I'll say about her is that she doesn't seem to spend time with any of the people on the other side of the house.
Oh, okay.
And that,
yes, yeah, these are things I don't know. I'm making a pick based on not seeing anything.
She's really good with the people she's good with, and she's not anyone that would be targeted.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not
why?
working both sides. Like someone like Kevin, as much as I say I like him as a character, he's probably doing the best job of talking to everybody in the house. He talks to everybody.
Right. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, because you never know who's going to be there. Like you said, in this game, way more than Survivor, the power dynamics shift all the time.
Yeah, that's what sucks. Like when you pick a winner at the beginning of the season, you tend to pick someone who's like already out there as a player, but then you hear people analyze it and say the winner is always going to be someone who's kind of floating at the beginning or laying low.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and that's even more important in Big Brother, I think, than it is in Survivor.
So yeah, you have concerns about Dominique being she's not working all sides enough.
That's all I'm saying. I don't know that other people are too.
So it could work out for her if like that side just stays in power and gets rid of.
Yeah, but that never happens. They can stay in power for a while.
Right, long enough to get that side out where
It's
numbers don't
true.
matter.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is possible. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
probably a good pick.
yeah, so I'm just gonna go with it. That's my pick.
Okay.
uh, but yeah, you don't have to make a pick just yet. We could talk about a couple more people. Let's see,
Like,
Ramses. What do you think about Ramses?
I want to see more of him, and I'm worried because he's on the wrong side as it stands, and he has the curse, so he has to nominate himself. So he could be in trouble.
He kind of looks like a nerd. Does he like sound like a nerd when he talks, or
Not really. He sounds
no?
really happy-go-lucky and fun,
Oh, okay, cool.
but I
Um,
think they're on to him. They're on to how smart he is. So if he
pretty
has to
smart enough.
nominate himself, I think they might just vote him out.
Oh
But
yeah, that's right. He has that curse or whatever where he has
yeah,
to
he's
not.
cursed.
He has 3 votes to do it.
He has 3 weeks to put himself on the block. Yeah.
So he just has to wait for the right time when he sees somebody on the block that he
If like
can.
Cody and Jess go on the block next week, no problem. Put yourself up because one of those two's going home.
Right. Yeah, he'll be like, "Listen, guys, I have to use this. Please don't, please don't make me regret it."
Regret it. But
Like
even if he
I want.
does go, there'll probably be a battle back, is what I'm saying. So
I guess that would almost make him look too smart though to be like this is the right time to play it. He should
well,
more just.
you have to.
Well, no, he has to do it. I'm just saying, don't tell anyone that you were smart enough to figure out the right time to use it. Just be like, well, I guess I got to use this now. Like
Yeah. All
because
the people I
if
think
you
people
tell
see
them why you're doing it because you know this is your best chance of staying in the game, they'll be like, damn, he's
that. Mhm.
smart. Vote him out. I don't know.
I
Just a
don't
thought.
know. I don't know that they would though.
They're not smart enough to see it that way, or
Well,
they
I
hate
would.
Cody and Jess that much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
want them
Gotcha.
out, and that's when there's enough like hatred towards one house guest, which is not always common at the beginning of a season. At the beginning of a season, it's kind of just like, okay, get rid of this person, this person. So to have that much animosity towards not one person but two people, then that would be a really good time to put yourself up.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he ends up doing.
Yeah.
Who else? Oh, Jason, the rodeo clown.
Nah.
Good shot of winning. Sleeper
No.
pick. No,
No. I
no.
actually forgot about him.
Any good TV there? Anything? Or just
He broke Christmas's foot and then went back to bed. So,
how did he break it?
well, they were dancing and he fell. That's how she broke her foot.
Oh my God, he fell and on her foot.
I guess.
Did he know he broke it?
Yeah, because she started screaming that she broke her foot.
And
And he went and got the people and they came and got her and took her to the diary room and they took her to the hospital and all that stuff. But he went back to bed.
instead, what? Like he should have gone to the hospital with her.
Well, he didn't even carry her to the diary room like two other guys did, and then he went back to bed.
Wow,
And
that's
like
pretty
he broke
bad,
her foot and he's still gonna vote her out. Like, what a douchebag.
dude. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't
Wow.
really like him. I like Alex, who's aligned with him. Like, I like her feistiness and
Are they?
her.
Is that like a romantic pair? Is
No,
that
no,
what?
Jason is married.
Oh, what's he? How old is he?
He's in his late 30s, I want to say 37,
Okay.
38. He's
All right.
married. He's got kids or a kid. Um, so I like Alex, but I think she's. I don't know why she couldn't find some other people to group up with, but oh well. So I'm not gonna pick her or him. Maybe I don't want to pick any of these people.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. What we haven't really talked much about Paul. Can you give me some thoughts on Paul? Like, can you give me a quick breakdown of what was good about him last season, and then what's going on with him this season?
I think Paul needs a Victor. Paul and Victor were a team, and they were better together. Paul could, be the soft edges, or Victor could be the soft edges to Paul's sharp personality, because he was doing a good job until the whole blindside thing happened where Cody tried to nominate him, and now he's really rallying the votes for Christmas, and like he's just harassing people for them, and he needs to go back to laying low. And I think and now he wants people to throw the HOH to him, and I'm like, dude, you're safe, you don't want it. He's going too hard right now. He needs to chill out.
Yeah, it's the start of the game, man. Like if he just chilled for a bit,
This it's the
maybe he
same
feels really
thing.
paranoid that he's got a target on his back and he thinks he's gonna have to play hard all the way.
But dude, he had a target on his back all last season, and somehow he talked his way out of it. Maybe that's just his thing. He never shuts up, and you get to a point where he just wears you down.
Yeah, could be, but it sounds
Because
like Kevin is just not having it, and that's kind of why he doesn't want to
yeah, it
vote with
sounds like
him.
Kevin's over it, which isn't good because I thought he and Kevin had a secret long-term thing going on. But last season his two alliance mates were the first two people voted out, and so he was an underdog, and he was for like the whole season. And then Victor kept coming back, and so that helped him too. But I mean, he's kind of playing the same way, obnoxiously, but he needs to sit back a little bit right now.
Sure. Okay.
I don't want to
You
pick him to win because I don't think they'll let him get there.
right. Okay. Who else is in the house that we haven't talked
There's
about
a few people that we don't need to
that
say much
matters?
about. Like there's Mark and Matt, who are two, handsome, muscular men who are
So Mark's the
um,
big muscular guy.
Wreck-It Ralph,
Wreck-It Ralph. Matt is the guy that one
the
of the
Silver Fox.
RHAP guys worked at the same place as him and
He
has
doesn't actually know him.
he has like a mutual friend with him.
Right, yes.
Yeah. But he did say that he was the one who encouraged him to apply to the show.
No,
'Cause he
he
said,
encouraged his friend to apply to the show.
oh, and the friend
Yeah,
sort of passed that like along to Matt, I
I
guess.
guess.
Yeah.
He's been pretty boring so far, which is good. He's laying pretty low.
Other
You
than
know,
having a showmance with Raven, right?
yeah, which is weird. I don't understand that.
So what's the deal with Raven?
Whatever. She has some disease, and everybody's like, I'm just going to get to the end and let Raven win. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to watch the Let's Let Raven Win show. I'm going to watch you vote out people who are a threat to you, or else I'm not going to watch it all. Like, more than two people have said that. Like,
Oh my goodness.
if you win the game, then you can buy her a new whatever she needs to help fight her disease. It makes me so mad when people come off and say that they're doing this noble thing, like gonna let somebody else win. No, that's no.
Yeah, I mean the your heart's in the right place and it's a nice thought and everything, but I mean like
Is that why you gave up 3 months of your life to come to this game show and meet some girl that you know for 2 weeks who has some debilitating disease and say, "Oh, I'm gonna win this for you"? No.
No, yeah, it goes against the whole point of everything that the network stands for and the show. They want to put on a good, entertaining show. That's their mission statement.
Now,
That's
if that
CBS's
girl
mission statement making the show. We want to provide entertaining television. If they're going to undermine that, then that's bullshit.
If that girl plays a cutthroat game and wins her way to the end and wins, fine. But I'm not going to watch some garbage charity case. And neither, believe me, the BB fandom, they're not here for it either. So.
Right. Well, before you said that there were people entertaining the idea of, I want to let Raven win, I had been hearing good things about her gameplay, that just as far as like she's laying low enough to not be a target early on, and she's also like super personable and likable. So I mean, based on hearing that, I would make her like my second choice to win, probably.
She's probably, her and Matt together, I don't know if the romance of it will last, but I think as a pair in the game could be dangerous.
Right. And, maybe people will sniff that out sooner rather than later. I don't know. Is Paul smart enough at the game to sniff stuff like that out? Or is he just...
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's smart. He just is his own worst enemy sometimes.
Right. He plays hard, from what I've heard.
He doesn't shut up.
Yeah, that's what I've heard more than anything.
Anti-Cody.
Yeah, is that he really likes to be the center of attention.
Yes.
Like that's what everyone kept talking about.
Nobody with a million tattoos and a perfectly sculpted beard doesn't like attention. Let's not get it twisted.
Yeah,
Paul is entertaining, but he's a look at me type of guy.
Yeah, these are the equivalents of like women wearing lipstick and showing cleavage and like earrings and jewelry and a nice dress. Like it's like you don't do that stuff if you don't want attention. And men have finely sculpted beards, tattoos, whatever,
Perfect fades.
yeah, gauges maybe.
The muscles.
It's muscles. It's their way of accessorizing to be like it's like peacocking for men,
Yeah.
it's so yeah, he obviously
Paul
likes
is
attention.
a tiny little peacock.
That's the hashtag. Paul is a peacock. Peacock Paul. Hashtag.
Peacock Paul. If you use hashtags.
We've never done hashtags before, but maybe this will be the first one. Peacock Paul. There you
Peacock Paul.
Who else did we want to talk about?
I feel like that's enough.
That's enough.
Like, I don't know if we missed anyone, but
we've done about an hour here. I mean, I'm satisfied.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just pick somebody. I honestly, now that we've gone through everybody, I have no idea how this season is going to shake out. I hope it remains as interesting as it has been up to this point. Like, to see someone like Catie that you immediately hate, usually you have to wait weeks for them to get knocked on their ass, but for it to happen already is like really, I think, a good sign for maybe where the season could go. Because that was really satisfying to see him just completely dumbfounded by that. And of course, he blames production, like, sorry, Christmas, you got screwed by, he didn't say by production, but that was his insinuation. Or else he was saying you got screwed by America. But, you know, they vote how they want to vote, dude. That's just the way it is. But let me pick... I'm going to pick one of the boring guys.
Matt. Mark.
Mark's pretty emotional. Yeah, you know what? I think if Dominique goes to the end, Mark's going with her. So I think maybe I'll pick him.
Oh, okay, cool.
But I was going through the list of winners recently. There's a lot of white dudes on there. So
white dudes. So this show has been won by white dudes.
A lot. So
actually, Dominique was a bad pick, is what you're telling me.
Well, I don't even think anyone of color has even won, to be honest with you.
That's kind of sick.
They've had one homosexual winner, and other than that, I think it's been straight white folk.
Jesus.
So make of that what you will. But so maybe I shouldn't pick Mark and encourage that. But I honestly think if Mark and Dominique go to the end together, Dominique would beat him. But I'll pick Mark because I think if Dominique goes, he goes with her.
And you just like that pair.
I do. On the show, it's him and Elena, and I think they're the romantic pair, but I think the more emotional connection is with Mark and Dominique.
So we never talked about Elena. What is she like?
Oh, she's fine.
She's fine. Can you give me anything about her? I don't know anything.
I don't know that much about her. She seems to always be in the mix, so she's got good relationships in the house, even with the other people. So that's good. She could go. Right,
so she might be a good winner pick too, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Maybe Mark, Dominique. I just hope that they don't resort to maybe a jealousy thing with Dominique and Elena, because those three working together could do some damage, I think.
Right, and that could happen, I suppose.
If they don't stoop to that, I hope they don't, because he's just a big, soft man. Like, not soft physically, but
is he a gentle giant?
Yeah, and there's no need in being jealous over that guy.
Right. Okay.
Actually seems like a very sweet guy, so maybe there is, but like not for $500,000. It's not worth it.
Right.
So.
All right. Any final thoughts for the podcast today?
I hope we did an okay job breaking it down. It's just fun to vent about it for me. Thanks for listening, Dave, and anyone who watches this.
No problem. I feel like I just facilitated a conversation, and that's good. That's a good thing.
The live vote is tomorrow night, so the week finally Cotie's HOH week is over, and somebody else can be in power. So
that'll be good.
I'm pretty sure he thinks he and Jessica just get to live in that room for the rest of the summer. I don't think he knows that he has to move out yet.
Nice. All right. That'll do it for this episode of the podcast. We'll see if we can do this again sometime next week. Just want to say thanks for listening, and you can follow us on Twitter at TV is our real mom. And be sure to like, comment, favorite, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
See ya.